Those are great. Are you bringing those to the draft?
Hell yeah, brother.
We're burning the midnight oil here at the T15Z studios in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Flew in last night. Quaz flew in today. We're just going to make it happen.
First of all, I want to say I'm really excited about this draft because it also sounds like we're actually going to have all 12 people there. Full league live draft.
Even Chris, it seems like, might make it. Very exciting. We're going to have a 12-person live draft for the first time since 2000 and...
like 15. I think like since year one. Wow, stinks. Honestly.
Yeah, so in this segment, what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about the history of each player in the league. So without further ado, your very own B-Boy made the playoffs 4 out of 7 years, never shipped it, does have the dubious honor of going 13-0 and then losing in the semifinals.
One of the core guys, honestly, that's been in the league since inception. He's also our treasurer. He's very trustworthy. But at the end of the day, really just like, he's yet to get it done. Maybe this year he does it, but I mean, if I'm a betting guy, and I'm not putting my money on him. Hey,
I mean, and you can see that golden #1 offense on his 2020 year.
It was a COVID year. He was screaming, cancel the season every week. Who was playing, who wasn't.
It was a great catchphrase for sure. Gotta hand it to him. Cancel the season.
Yeah.
That was good. Let's hop on over to our next man, the commish, DJ.
President Jones.
President Jones. And I mean, right out the bat, you can see just glowing his 2018 championship. He's definitely still coasting off that one.
You know, as we look at these numbers, look, he's a threat every year.
I mean, let's be honest, for a guy who knows as much about football as he does, you'd really expect him to be a little bit better than 3 for 7 making the playoffs, but there's plenty of teams in this league with no rings.
I look for more from him. That's all I have. That's all I'm saying.
Let's hop on over to another member of the founding 12. You, Goose.
It feels good to have that ring and being in part of history. You know, I'm still hungry, though, because 17, 18, 20, 21, forgettable performances for myself. And I'll be the first to tell you, this is dumb, but for having the number 12 defense in the league last year, to go 6-8, but hey, you know, I am a champion. I've been in the league forever. Never missed a draft. Definitely claiming to be the vice president of the league.
You're also 3 for 7, so maybe you can get up to 500 for making the playoffs at least. And once you're in, who knows what can happen? And who knows that any better than our friend Stavi, who has been a perennial threat to make some noise and yet never really sealed the deal.
There's a lot of luck involved here. He got there one time in 2016, lost to a tough competitor. Realistically, every single year that he makes it, it's like, is this the year?
No, not even 2021 when he had the best offense in the league.
Yeah, I think he's going to take home some jewelry this year. So at least he gets to walk away with some hardware. I know Stavi is itching for
He's itching for
the
it.
chain.
Definitely, ever since 2016 when he made the finals against Matt.
And right off the bat, as you look at this, the biggest things that stand out is when he went back to back.
One thing that I think about when I see a record like this is how do we view this start to his career in the league? And where does he fall in terms of greatness? First of all, attending the live draft is it's the most important thing in the league.
Couldn't agree more.
Second, 2015, 2016, he was playing against bums, mailmen.
Steph Curry, if he played with Jerry West, killing him.
Who was even in the league in 2015?
Shitty Kevin, BDP. We don't actually know the size of his penis at all, so I don't even know how that name came to be. But
to me, a lot of it comes down to how he does in this upcoming year. If he just blows this year, 10th, 11th, 12th place, historians are going to look with a critical eye on those 2015, 2016 championships.
Has he fallen off? Is the sword still sharp? You know, I can go to bat for him and say that he's a threat to this league every single year. Those championships are for real. He'll come in knowing that this league is full of sharps.
Sharps or sharks?
Sharps with a P. Also, sharks.
Sharp
with the fins.
sharks. The next member we're going to talk about is someone who joined in the second year. Yours truly.
Let's talk a little bit about your performances year over year. And starting from 2016, obviously, you know, we don't have the data because it was an ESPN league. 2017, he came on strong, made the playoffs, semifinalist. 2018, everyone realistically thought that was actually, you know, your season to win. You ran into a buzzsaw.
I mean, I ran into a buzzsaw who was hot at the right time. It's all about getting that hardware.
Yeah,
I also
really
want to
is.
call out that 2018 was before we added the Bell Cow Award, #1 offense. So All right, let's move on to the next member of the league who also joined in 2016, Gabe. Gabe actually had quite an impressive run in 2018 where he made the finals.
Good run, honestly. I mean, first of all, welcome back, Gabe. It's great to have you. He called it quits, maybe a little too early.
Then again, he called it quits specifically because he knew this was a live draft league and he wasn't going to be able to make it to LA that year.
You got to keep an eye on it because the guy's proven to get hot in the right time.
Let's hop on over to the next member of the league. That is our good friend and two-time champ, Omar.
Reigning champ, Omar. And I don't mean to talk shit, but, Omar wins a ship, and then for 3 years he disappears, and then he won another ship. Like, am I worried about Omar? No. But, as a defending champion, am I worried about Omar? Yes, I am.
Speaking of players to be worried about, I want to bring your attention to Dr. Ferguson here.
Is he actually a doctor? Is our first question, because Rich, you look like a doctor. Are you even a doctor?
Are those tinted shades?
They look sweet.
They do look sweet. I hope he wears those to the draft.
Whatever he's selling or whatever kind of business he's in, I'm all about.
I'm buying.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Rich joined in 2018 and has proceeded to make playoffs every single year. And he is the only member of the league, barring Matt, who was only in the league 2 years, who can claim to have made the playoffs every single year.
He shows up every draft that he's been invited to, which we love to see. And he's made 4 playoffs in a row. I mean, the guy's a player. You got to keep him on your radar always.
I feel like he's due for a bad year.
If I'm a betting man, and I am, I would not bet that he's having a bad year. I'm just not going to do it.
Fair enough. But let's talk about someone who we do expect to have a shit year, Chris. So he joined in 2019, immediately sarked, 3-10, most points against. Actually had a decent offense that year, surprisingly, but still 3-10.
Chris's problem is he's the classic overthinker. He's a local tradesman, and he does love to dish players that for some reason he fell in love with at the draft, and then midway through the season's like, I don't really like these guys anymore.
He did make the finals.
How do you lose to that guy? You can't lose to that guy. Chris, I'm looking at you as you're watching this. How do you lose to that guy? We were counting on you.
That would have been a pretty heroic run, 2020, if he had pulled it off.
Do we even know if Chris is going to show up?
I'd put higher odds of Chris missing the draft than of Rich missing the playoffs.
Ooh, that's a good bet. I like that.
All right, so let's move on to the second to last, Dom.
Dom goes by Ruthless as well. He's blue check marks.
Dude fucks.
Yeah, he does. The guy's a daily fantasy master, but the problem is, this is not a one-day games league. I see Dom having just like a fine year. Maybe he makes it, maybe he doesn't. Probably forgettable, as usual.
All right, here's our last and newest member, Nihal, who only joined in 2020, proceeded to suck immensely, got last place, had a great redemption chance following year, really blew it.
Crumbled like that cookie company. What's the name of their company? Crumble.
He's also the only member of the league to have never made the playoffs.
I think this upcoming year is a big tell for us of whether Nihal is a competitor in this league. Do we keep an eye on this guy, or is he kind of one of those that's an easy win?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to go 3 straight years without making the playoffs, unless you're Omar and you bookend it with championships. That's the only acceptable way to go 3 straight seasons without making the playoffs.
We close there that segment. We'd like to also remind everyone that we are still sponsored by the makers of Bloom. Let's talk about the next thing on the docket here. There will be still a biggest fleece award given.
But realistically, this is going to be the second biggest fleece.
Correct. Who is up for...
There weren't actually that many trades this year. The first one's actually kind of funny because while in and of itself not much of a fleece, it did lead to the ability for a fleece. And that was on September 9th in the preseason. Chris gave Omar Le'Veon Bell for Michael Carter. And then Omar turned and flipped Le'Veon Bell into Jamar Chase.
Interesting indeed.
So the next trade was a pretty large trade between Adam and, once again, Chris. Just before week 4, Chris traded Chris Carson and Devonta Smith for Tyler Lockett, Javonte Williams, and Naheem Hines. Week 4 was also the last time that Chris Carson would ever play football, ever.
Traded a completely broken bell cow to someone else, which is like, listen, let me clean my hands dirty from this rotten cow. I had no idea that someone could sell spoiled milk to somebody else. It's fleeceable behavior.
next trade to discuss was between DJ and Omar. DJ gave up Portland Sutton, and Omar gave up Zach Moss. Moss ended up like 5 points here, 8 points there, 3 points there, with several games missed due to injury.
Zach really needed to dust the moss off himself. Why are you so high on Bills running back?
It was Dingleberry's backfield the whole time regardless. All right, so here's one more trade. Adam gave up Jacoby Myers and Rich gave up Tyler Higbee. All players Sark on both sides of this deal.
I see two guys who are just trading two shitty guys from one another.
All right, so now we get to two pretty significant blockbuster trades. And the first one was between actually the two of us. I traded you Mike Davis and Darren Waller, and you gave me Noah Fant and Hendo. It did end up playing out to my advantage pretty significantly. I mean, first of all, Mike Davis sucked. And then also just the issue, Waller got hurt. But on the other hand, Hendo also gave me 3 great weeks and then got hurt. So we did the trade just before week 6. Darren Waller proceeded to miss week 7, had a bye week 8. Then he put up 12 points, 4 points, 15 points, 4 points, and then didn't play the rest of the season.
Dude sucks. He didn't do shit for me.
So here is the very last trade of the year. Adam gave Stavi Cordarrelle Patterson, and Stavi gave Adam George Kittle. Exactly what Stavi needed because King Henry went down basically the next week. George Kittle didn't actually come in until week 9, put up big numbers. He had one stinker of a game where he put up 1.8, but the rest of the weeks he put up an average of 20 points. The question is, how did Cordarrelle Patterson do? The answer is actually similarly great.
I think that's just a blockbuster trade that worked out for both parties. Am I going to vote that at all in the fleece factors? Probably not. So we got some, fleeces to be voted on for sure.
At the draft, we'll do a vote.
Last but not least, we're getting close to wrapping up. I just want to touch on some other awards that we like to give out that are not so traditional. We obviously have the championship chain, most points, again, Stavi, the biggest fleece, as we talked about, the biggest crumble, and then everybody's fan favorite, won by Stavi every year, the most Daped award.
It's really his award to lose at this point.
Don't sleep on some contenders. I'm eyeing a couple people that actually could pull the upset. Don't sleep on Barrio. Don't sleep on President Jones. Don't sleep on B-Boy.
So just to sum it up, we're going to have a brand new award for biggest crumble. And after the draft, we will have everybody vote on the best and worst draft. Worst draft on whoever takes CMC.
I'm voting worst draft on whoever takes Juju. This is, I think, the conclusion of the show. We are still and will be forever sponsored by the makers of Bloom. We do have to contractually say that.
Really looking forward to the draft. We'll see everyone there.
I'm also looking forward to booking Top Golf for day 2 and not going.
Boom. Canceled. Balloon.
Blue.
All right.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.